Welcome to AER Int channel and welcome back to the sheet metal course. The next feature we're going to look at is the fold and unfold feature. This allows us to fold and unfold bends as the name suggests. But before we actually get into it, let's open up our model and delete any previous feature. So maybe a swept flange, maybe a miter flange, just so we just have this base flange feature again. Like this. Then let's add an edge flange to each of these 4 corners. So firstly, I'm gonna select those corners by holding down Ctrl and left clicking on them. And then I'm gonna select edge flange. And let's make them say 50mm upwards and 90 degrees. And it doesn't really matter which flange position that we use. They should give us quite a basic box that looks like this. Now the fold and unfold features just allow us to fold and unfold these bends. They can be found up here. To use it, first let's try unfold. So click on unfold and then select the fixed face. So this is the face that doesn't move. Let's select the large base flange face in the middle. Then select the bends to unfold. We have to select the actual bend itself. We see we can't select the flange here. We can just select the bends. And we can see here on the left, it says edge bend 1. Then if we press OK, that bend is just unfolded. If we edit the unfold feature again, we can also click this button, collect all bends. That will automatically select all of the bends in the model. And then when we press OK, all of those will be unfolded at once. Now in this unfolded state, we can use this to make any changes across the flat model. And this is particularly useful if we are trying to make cuts across bends or things like that. So for example, I'm gonna start a sketch on this top face. I'm gonna get the circle tool and draw a circle something like this. Do an extruded cut and link it to the thickness so it goes all the way through. So now when we fold the edges back up again, these cuts will be transferred with edges. To use the fold feature, it's basically the opposite of the unfold feature. Click on the icon, choose the fixed face again. Then we can either choose the bends individually or press collect all bends again. And press OK. And now these edges are bent up again. So now that circular cut is basically wrapped around the bend there. So we might not need this for every cut across a bend, but it can be useful if we are making cuts that aren't at 90 degrees, or if we are cutting out an unusual shape. There might be cases where it's not possible to cut out what we need, or to easily cut out what we need in the folded up state. So for example, if we try to cut a circle on this side in the folded up state, we'll make it roughly the same size, and we'll cut upwards by roughly the same amount. We can see from the top, this looks good, but from the side, we don't have that curved profile on the top. Then if we were to flatten our part, we can see maybe another potential issue. If we were making this initially from a flat sheet, we can see that here on the right, we could probably cut this out with a drill pretty easily, but this shape on the left would be much harder to cut unless we had something like a laser cutter. So as with most of these tools, there's different scenarios that we might use them for different features, really depending on what we need for our end product and how we're gonna manufacture it. To try and speed up our modeling, we should try and think about whether we actually need to use fold and unfold, or whether we can just cut directly across the folded part. Now, before we recap, we might be thinking, why can't we just use the flatten feature? Surely that's a much easier way to unfold and fold our entire model. Well, flatten is a special feature in a way because it always sits at the end of our sheet metal part. And clicking the flatten button basically just suppresses or unsuppresses that part. So when it's unsuppressed, the model is flattened, and when it's suppressed, the model is folded. If we were to flatten the model, like so, and then add a cut here, we can see it looks the same in the flat version. But now if we press flatten again to refold the part, we can see that cut has automatically been suppressed. That's because it's a child feature of the flat button feature. So when the flat button is pressed, the cut's also suppressed. So the flatten feature is really only intended to be the last feature of our model. If we'd only really generally use it to flatten our parts for a 2D drawing, or to check the parts can actually be made from one sheet, ideally we shouldn't really have any features after that. Although having said that, as we get to know sheet metal a bit more, there might be rare occasions when we cannot cut and things after the flattening, but ideally we should use the fold and unfold features. So to recap, fold and unfold can be used to unbend and rebend parts of our model, and this can be really useful when we are cutting across bends, especially if we are using unusual shapes or unusual bend angles. To use the features, just click on fold or unfold, then select the fixed face, and then select the bend we want to fold or unfold. We can also press collect all bends to automatically get all the appropriate bends in the model. These two features are a little bit different to the flattened feature, and they can be used anywhere in our model, and we can have features after them, whereas the flattened feature should only really be used at the end of our model, ideally with nothing else after it in the design tree. In the next video, we're gonna look at gussets, which are basically a ridge that goes across a bend to strengthen it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like. I hope it can be a little helpful and useful.